What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be getting into my first NFL predictions. Now, I am going to be getting into this more in depth later on in the year as the season starts and we get to see a little bit more about some of these teams. But right now, I just wanted to throw together a video and just kind of explain my predictions post draft because teams are really set. There's probably not going to be a lot more changes, but I'm going to be gaining some more knowledge as we go on. This right now is more of my what I know right now, my predictions. So yeah, let's just break down what I have here. Just break down the standings, and we'll go into every team's individual games and see what my thoughts were there. But anyway, starting out with the AFC. This is the AFC, and the number one seed's the Chiefs, 12-5. They own the tiebreaker over the Bills. That's why they were barely above them. Then, of course, number two would be Buffalo right there, the Bills. And then I got the Bengals at number three. I mean, Cincinnati is an intriguing team here because they're coming off a Super Bowl. Honestly, I thought they would be more like 10-7 when I got into this, but yeah, that's where the Bengals are at three. We'll get into that more in depth. Number four, I got the Titans. It's very interesting to see what happened with the Titans this year. In my predictions, you'll see. And then we got the Broncos at number five, which the Chiefs and the Broncos battling it out for that that division winning title basically all year. Browns at number six with Deshaun Watson joining the team. I think this team can be a playoff team, even in this really good AFC. And then the Dolphins really surprisingly sneak into the postseason here at number seven because there's a lot of tie-breaking scenarios here, and they got it. They got the number seven tiebreaker to be that team. And then these three teams just missing out of the playoffs. The Colts at 9-8. The Colts lost. Really had that AFC South really all year, and then the Titans come out of nowhere, take it back, and then the Colts really surprising that they missed out. I thought they were going to make it. Chargers really fell off a cliff. You'll see this in my predictions, but according to the schedule, I think it's going to happen. They got some tough matchups to finish off the year. And then the Raiders, another team that I think steadying at 9-8, at that 500 point all year, and just barely misses out on the playoffs right there. And then the Ravens, also another team that was in this mix, also missed out on the playoffs at 8-9, just could not slide in. Another team who I think's going to surprise this year, the Jets. A lot of people might think they'd be worse than that. The Jets have a pretty decent roster, believe it or not. This team, I think, can make some noise and maybe sneak into the playoffs. And then the Steelers, honestly, probably a little bit lucky to be 7-10, but this team hasn't had a losing season in a long time. This, I think, is going to be their first year. I just do not trust Kenny Pickett to bring this team to win a lot of games, but they are well coached. They have a good defense. That's going to be enough. Kind of the same thing with the Patriots. They are well coached, got a great defense. But really, I do not like their offseason. They really had some questionable moves and lost a few pieces. And I just don't think the Patriots are legitimate threats compared to some what other people are saying this season. So they're going to be the 14th team. Then the 15th team who kind of sprouted end of the season, which for the Jaguars is good for them to sprout at the end of the season. At 6-11, thought they would do worse than that. They didn't. And then the Texans might do better than some people think, in my opinion. 4-13. I think this team is going to pull off some. You see that versus good versus bad. They're 4-8 versus good. So I feel like they can pull off some trap game scenarios and win because I think this team is going to be gritty. They're going to be all these players are going to have a chip on their shoulder and they're going to win a few games, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the AFC. Let's get into the NFC side. Um, so the number 1 seed, the Buccaneers, get that one, have the tiebreaker over the Packers, who are the 2 seed. Two very good teams, but I do think the Bucs slide ahead. Rams, I think Rams are going to do worse than a lot of people thought. They lost a lot of good defensive players. And this is a tough NFC West. So I think the Rams are going to not do as good as people think, but they're going to be the 3 seed at 11-6. The Cowboys are going to be the 4 seed at 10-7. And then the Niners, a rematch of last year's playoff game at 10-7 at number 5. The Eagles at number 6 at 9-8. Right there. The Saints are at 8-9 at number 7. This NFC West is very compact, but all these teams I believe lost at the end of the year. Well, except for the Saints. The Saints were the only team that won. They were 7-9, I believe, so they barely snuck in. Besides the Eagles, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, the Saints barely snuck in, and I do think they are the 7th best team in the NFC this year. And then a shocking team. A lot of you are like, what the heck is going on here? The Lions. I think the Lions are going to. I was not expecting them to be this good come entering into these predictions, but they have some games where I could see them pulling off some upsets and really being the surprise team of the year to nearly make the playoffs, just one game away from making it. So, congratulations to the Lions. I think all these teams are going to have a chance to make the playoffs at the very end. So that's where I have the Lions at 8. And then number 9, the Commanders at 9. I think this Carson Wentz is going to do enough for this team to be in the mix. Again, kind of like I was expecting this team more to be 7-10-ish, 7-10 lower, but they finished 8-9, so congratulations to them. It's an easy AFC East. That's really why. Seattle finishes at 10, at 8-9. I feel like this is a win for the Seahawks if they can finish at 10. Unfortunately, I had the Rams to finish up the year, so that's a very tough game for them to be able to make the playoffs. But on another surprise team, I think this year a lot of people are counting them out. I think this team can actually play good and be in the hunt for the NFC basically all year long. And the Cardinals at number 11. Really not a fan of the Cardinals this year, especially that first 6 weeks I think is going to affect them without DeAndre Hopkins for those weeks. I think they could recover. I think they go like 2-4, recover from that, but ultimately miss out on the postseason in general. I just do not really like this Cardinals team at all this year. I think they got worse, and I think they're just overrated in general. So I think this will be the last straw for Cliff Kingsbury, and he'll be fired after this, I think, if this happens, especially in this bad of an NFC. Like, I don't think you should miss out on the playoffs with that. But the Vikings at number 12 at 7-10. Really, Vikings kind of thought that they did a little bit better than I thought, but I don't really see the Vikings as a threat this year. The Giants, I think they're going to improve from last year. They had a horrible roster last year. They put some things together. Brian Daboll, I think, is going to have a good first year for this Giants team and be 6-11, which is not bad. I think that's a pretty decent record for them. And then Carolina at 6-11 as well. I kind of expected them to do better, but it is what it is. I guess they have a tougher schedule, so they're going to be 14-15. Bears probably one more win than I thought. This Bears offense looks atrocious. I'm actually nervous for Justin Fields that he doesn't put some things together. So this team's not very good at all. That's why they're number 5. And the number 16, Falcons, in my opinion, are even worse than the Texans, and they're going to be the worst team in the league. So, yeah, I'm not going to do playoff predictions, by the way. So, yeah, I mean, let's just kind of look through. Sorry, it's not loading. There you go. All right, let's kind of look through some of these teams. So yeah, the Chiefs. you can kind of take a glance at this winning. I'm not going to go too in depth, but yeah, the Chiefs, I do think, they're going to be the number one team. So that's their schedule. Let's move on to the Broncos. Kind of take a look here at what I think is going to happen. So yeah, the Broncos and then the Chargers at number 9. Really, the Chargers are an interesting team. Sorry, it's not loading. All right, there you go. So yeah, the Chargers I think start out very hot and then go cold to finish off the year and miss out on the playoffs again. It's very disappointing for them. And then the Raiders. So here are the Raiders. Just have a lot of spread out wins and losses. Not a very good ending to the year, but I mean, it's meh. I think the Raiders, that AFC West is tough. I was expecting 3 of them to make it, but only 2. I mean, that AFC West, if the Raiders, especially if they were in a different division, as I see, they're 1-5 in. So they only lost 3 games outside of the division, which is surprising. But yeah, that's the Raiders. I don't think they're going to do well at all in their division this year. So yeah, the Bills here. Can kind of take a look at the Bills really having a good year and then lose 2 straight. That really kicks them out of the 1 seed. They were really in it, in a good spot, and then lost 2 straight. I think they blow a game to the Bears, which is surprising, and they fall to the 2 seed, which I don't think that's going to affect them that much, though. This team still is the best team in the AFC, in my opinion. So here are the Dolphins. A lot of home wins to start out the year. Those are what I think happens with the Dolphins. Just a pretty good team, but Tua not being able to make the playoffs this year. He did. So Tua probably is going to stay for another year. He's took his team to the playoffs, which is big for him. So I think that probably saves his season for another year. I don't think he's their guy, but I mean, that Dolphins team is really good aside from Tua. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the Chargers are a better team. The Raiders are better, but they got the tiebreakers apparently. All right, so the Jets, one of my surprise teams. This is their schedule. If you're interested in that, the Jets, I think, will have a better year than a lot of people think. And then moving on to the 14th team, the Patriots. I mean, this AFC is spread out. The 14th team is 7-10. That's pretty crazy. But if you look at the Patriots, a lot of home wins for this team. It's really hard on these mid teams that just kind of go, especially this AFC. They're all really balanced. So I just go, okay, that tiebreaker, they have home field. That gives them barely the edge. So here are the Bengals, who barely got the 3 seed over the Browns. Kind of look at that. Just an overall solid year. Nothing too crazy. This is what they were last year. I think they were 10-7. I'm not quite sure. 10-7 or 11-6. I don't remember, but yeah, here's the Browns. Gonna have a pretty good year. I think Deshaun Watson struggles to start out the year, and they're gonna lose these 3, which are surprising, and actually lose to his former team there in the Texans. So I think that all these teams have a couple games where they lose 2 straight. Here are the Ravens. If they're in the NFC, clearly a playoff team, but unfortunately they're in the AFC. Don't think they're going to make it this year. But a good team. They drafted extremely well. Let me get to the Steelers here. Steelers, this is mine. Them. The Steelers, like I said, their schedule's a little bit easier and had some games from like, okay, they're well coached, they can win this game. They're at home, whatever. Let's give interesting team, the Titans. Very interesting. So you can see, I believe they're like 3-8 up to this point. No, 3-8 up to this point, and then they win the rest. Like these 5 games, I think they can all win, or 6 or whatever that is. Yeah, 6 games. Like those are 6 games that I think give them the advantage, or not necessarily the better teams there, but it gets that Eagles team on the road. That's a must-win game at 3-8. I picked. You know what? Let's give them that win. So just some of those things that went their way, and then the Colts here. You can see the Colts really just had a solid year. It looked like they were going to make it to the playoffs, but 3-1 to finish off the year. That should have been enough, but the Titans stormed back. I mean, it was really that Giants game that, I picked them to lose that game at home against the Giants. I feel like the Giants, so surprised the Colts. I mean, we saw this last year with Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. A lot more expectations than that, but they're going to barely miss out on the playoffs, which I think they're a playoff team for sure. I think they're a better team than the Titans, but the Titans barely sneak in ahead. All right, the Jaguars. So the Jaguars had a horrible start, as you can see. But then they go 3 straight and then lose to the Titans. So a good finish for the Jaguars. I think that should be their goal. It was 6-11 for this Jaguars team. That's good. I was expecting them to be worse than that, but that's pretty decent for them. Then the Texans are arguably the worst team in the league. You could see some of these upsets. I picked Colts, Titans, Eagles. Some of these Browns game, I think that's a trap game. So all those are trap game scenarios where I picked them. So yeah, let's move on to the NFC with the Buccaneers here. The number 1 seed, as you can see, the Buccaneers really, I think they're going to lose that Germany game, by the way, against Seattle, because Seattle's in a desperate situation there. But yeah, finish off the year strong, win 5 straight, and finish the 1 seed. I think they were 7-5, so they really had to finish off the year strong after that Saints game that they lost. And here's the Saints had a very strong start, 4-1, kind of fell off a cliff. Really fell off a cliff. I did not realize that. So that's 6-1. I'm 1-6 in those last few games, and then they go 2-2, which is enough to make the playoffs, barely. So Saints got a little bit lucky there after that really poor performances out of 7 weeks. Panthers, I'm not expecting. This is a pretty tough schedule. I mean, I have the Falcons winning that game, which is a upset and a half. But yeah, the Panthers lose that game, and then the Falcons basically just look at their wins that they take. Yeah, they're not going to be good, I think, this year at all. Take a win against the Niners. That was a trap game scenario there. See, they took a win against the Panthers and the Bears, so they won 2 straight. But the Bears aren't close to their level, actually. But yeah, that's the NFC South. Let's move on to the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers. Just without Tom Brady this year, man, that would have been interesting to see without Tom Brady this year. Who would win that division? I think it would be the Saints, honestly. But anyway, Green Bay. The Packers had a good start. Really didn't have some stretches where they were up and down. I just think they were going to have a decent year. I think they got worse this offseason. So I don't think this team's going to be like last year that they were. I don't think Rodgers is going to play like MVP again this year. I think they're just going to be a solid 12-5 team right there. And then the Commanders, who barely missed out on the playoffs. Oh, wait, no. Why am I clicking on I meant the Lions. We'll get to the Commanders later. But the Lions, the shocking team. It looks like they finish off the year they go 4 wins in a row, then they go 1-3. So that's really the Lions were in a good spot there. What were they? 7-6. So they were in a good spot to finish off the year strong, but unfortunately just 2 games got the best of them and then they lost that. So Minnesota, again, not really a threat in my opinion this year. Got a few wins here and there, but really just not the best team in my opinion. Not the best Vikings team. They had a horrible draft in my opinion as well. Chicago Bears here. The Bears really just not a threat at all either. Like really a tough stretch there. They go 1-6, 7, 1-7. Win those 2 games. Go 3-7 there, but then that season's basically lost at that point. Don't like the Bears to really have a good year at all this season. And then the Rams. The Rams here, very similar to Green Bay. Like, didn't have any tough stretches or really any really good stretches for their team. Just a lot of, just solid 11-6 play, what you would expect from them. Well, at least what I expect from them. 49ers, really good start, go 4-1. Then kind of really had a 4-1. 8-4 at that point. Then kind of finish off the year a little bit iffy, but that's okay. 10-7 is about what I expect from them. And a 5 seed, which they're going to be able to play the Cowboys, which I think that's what they want in the first round there. That 4 seed. But then Seattle here. Seattle, I think they just start out decent enough and really are just. But then I think this stretch is where it gets them. I think they'd be 3-6 at that point. Those 3 games in a row. I think is where they start out 2-1, which is their highest point. But then I think they win that game against the Bucs in Germany. I just feel like they're going to have a must-win mentality entering into that game, and they need that win bad. So they're going to come out swinging in that one, and they really have a good ending to the year here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go 5-3. Losing to some of the best teams in the league there. So a good ending for Seattle to finish off the year. And then Arizona time. And Arizona's an interesting team. Let me see. Not loading. Okay, not responsive. Okay, now it's working. Hopefully I didn't just glitch out on you guys. But anyway, Arizona, like this stretch to start out the year, will be 1-3, and then win that one to go 2-3, 2-4 to start out the year, and then win 3 straight. That's big games, 5-4, and then just kind of just not enough to make the playoffs in the NFC. That finish there, it's just not going to be enough in my opinion for the Cardinals, and they're going to miss out on the playoffs this year. If they had DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 weeks, they definitely would have, but I don't think that they're gonna, especially since they struggle to finish the year anyway. So that's just, they'd probably be better off if DeAndre Hopkins was gone for the last 6 games. so they could start out very strong like they usually do. But anyway, the Cowboys here, really just Cowboys. I got a little bit too high. Then I'm like, okay, we got to lose 2 straight. Then they're back and they win a few. Didn't need to do that. And then, yeah, they lose 2 straight to finish off the year. So they're really good right there. They are 10-5, and then they lose. So that really brings them down. They were really in a spot where they could make the postseason. And Eagles here. So the Philadelphia Eagles, just a solid year. Like, they do lose 3 straight there. Actually go 1-5 in that last few games, and then they win 2 straight. So they have a really good stretch there. They only lose 2 games and win 4. Then they have a horrible stretch here where they lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and only win 1. And then they win the last 2 to slide into the playoffs. I think that the Eagles are definitely a top 7 team in the NFC, maybe even a better team than their division rival, the Cowboys. But Washington, I think Carson Wentz, they brought him in to make the playoffs, and he's not going to do it for them. They're going to miss it out again. Yeah, just don't think the Washington has enough. I mean, they go 8-9, so just need some tiebreakers to go their way there, but it doesn't, unfortunately. So, yeah. And then here are the Giants. Really, the Giants just, having a better year than some people might suspect. But yeah, so that's my predictions, guys. Thank you for watching. Comment down below your predictions for your favorite team. But anyway, guys, peace out.